3.
Thank you, Chair. Conference. Ann Dean, Glasgow, Cathcart, CLP and Scottish Labour Women's Committee, thanks. The final cash report was endorsed by the Conservative government, the Labour government and the SNP government. Over 4 years, Dr Hilary Cass gathered material from all points of view. This was examined by independent experts who sifted it all to exclude wishful thinking and ideology to find evidence that is produced by a neutral, systematic, scientific process. A quotation, but not from Cass. What is important above all is that trans and gender diverse children get the quality health care that they need and deserve. The Cass Review can play a vital role in achieving this aim if its recommendations are implemented properly. Not my words, but those of Stonewall, the LGBTQ lobby group endorsing Cass. Cass is not anti-trans. It is pro-children and young people and wants them to have timely access to evidence-based, holistic care that's tailored to their individual needs. Cass also recognises we don't have all the answers and must proceed with caution to avoid harm. The report doesn't say trans identities are invalid. Cass does note that gender dysphoria has emerged as an issue disproportionately affecting girls and young women. The current Scottish Government guidance supporting transgender pupils in schools are not compatible with recommendations in the Cass report. The current Scottish guidance does take a one-size-fits-all approach. Teachers are told to affirm any expression of trans identity and may not even have to discuss this with parents. Cass is clear that this is not a neutral act and not something to be done without very careful individual assessment by qualified professionals. The Scottish guidance is based on the ideology that if one identifies as trans, one cannot pose a threat of male violence. For example, the current guidance does not exclude trans-identifying men from participating in sleeping arrangements for girls in school residential trips. Child protection must never, ever defer to any group saying it is above scrutiny. We owe this to all children. I urge you to vote for this motion and request the Scottish Executive Committee to work together with MSPs to call for a Scottish Government to withdraw the current guidance, support gender dysphoric children and gender questioning children in accordance with the recommendations of the Cass Review, call for new guidance for schools to be congruent with Cass Review, mindful of safeguarding and the need for single-sex spaces as recently endorsed by the Scottish Labour Party leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite the delegate seconding motion 3 to come to the rostrum?
Thank you, Chair. Alison-Ann Dowling, Renfrewshire North and West CLP. It's a pleasure to be here today. Conference. This motion asks that current school guidance materials that are non-Cass compliant are withdrawn from our schools. The current school guidance is, to use the leader of our party's phrase, a worrying example of organisational capture. For example, it promotes social transitioning for children without parental or clinical oversight and acts as a funnel towards a lifelong medical pathway. This is not Cass compliant. Conference. Cass is the most rigorous, comprehensive peer review of the global body of research. All serious political parties in the Scottish Parliament have accepted the Cass review recommendations. Your vote in favour of this motion is critical, and here's why. Cass has shown that many children have been profoundly harmed by gender ideology. It's been called the paediatric medical scandal of the century. Children who don't conform to gender stereotypes and if left alone often grow up to be gay or lesbian, have been sterilised by wrong sex hormones, healthy body parts amputated to conform to gender stereotypes. Conference, the Cass review is a reality check. Urgent action is needed. Questions must now be asked why anti-Cass gender ideology is uncritically promoted within schools. Cass is clear that treatment and education should be on the basis of proven evidence, expert guidance, not on ideological lobbying and institutional capture. What's needed is high-quality, inclusive, evidence-based education with access to social and mental health support for children. Schools should not be marketing anti-science beliefs as fact. Which brings me to what I want to say on behalf of the many trade unionists who've raised their concerns. Many women trade union members trying to raise their voices on these issues have been painted as unkind, right-wing funded bigots, leaving us vulnerable to attacks and job loss. The shameful cases where women have been persecuted out of their jobs but then vindicated by the courts should be a wake-up call for us all in the labour movement. And if you still don't think there's a problem, I know a nurse in Fife you can ask. Her name is Sandy Peggy. Conference, public trust post-Cass is in tatters on this issue. Support is draining from the political mainstream. The time has come to stand together, to realign with mainstream views. Time to return to upholding Cass, the principles of safeguarding and single-sex spaces based on biology. Conference, please support the motion.